Okay. First, let's talk about Lala. Okay. I have been Team Lala this entire season, and I stand by Lala with this last season finale episode. What we have been saying here with the Candy Canes, Lala basically confirmed that this entire season she's been trying to save the show, save everybody's job. And with Ariana refusing to film one scene with Tom Sandoval and sort of hijacking the season. Because what I think happened and why this season was so flat and disjointed, nobody really had a strong storyline, things weren't really working, is because they stayed stuck in Sandoval without any meaningful movement. And that's why this season was so flat and a bust. And that's pretty much why everybody just got fired. You know what I mean? Like that pretty much was a series finale, if you ask me. The montage of all of the people when they were younger and everything. And again, I think that's why they waited to show the very end of the season finale during the reunion, because that was basically production's way of saying goodbye. You know, that's pretty much what happened, because you know the trailer for the reunion came and Andy and Lisa Vanderpump are talking and they're like, "Oh, we've seen all the episodes, but we haven't seen the last piece of the series of the season finale. We're all going to watch it together." They've never done that before. And as we know, the end piece of the season, the producer literally said, "That's the end. It's pretty much a wrap." And as we all know, the show is now, quote, on pause. And we know what that means in Bravo speak. It pretty much means you're fired or it's over. You know, if another act of God, like another Sandoval just so happens to pop up, sure, maybe we'll bring it back. But right now it's pretty much dead. And that is what Lala and Sheena have been fighting against all season. It's not so much that they've been going against Ariana, it's that they've been fighting for themselves. They still want to be on the show, they still want to get paid, they still want a platform. And like Lala said, you know, yeah, Ariana, you're thriving. You have all of these projects and bookings in Chicago and everything else. But what about us? We're still out here trying to keep our jobs. So Lala basically confirmed everything we've been saying. She's basically like, I don't really care about Ariana or Tom. I'm just trying to keep my job. And basically everybody got fired. That's basically what happened. It was a swan song. Now, I thought that Ariana, her true self just was shown the entire episode. We've said this from day one. Ariana does not like these people. Tom said it, and she basically said it too, and everybody else pretty much said it. She doesn't like them. She's never been Lala's friend. She's never even been Katie's friend. Ariana and Katie's alliance is an alliance of convenience. It's an alliance of I don't have anybody else. It's an alliance of a mutual hatred for Tom Sandoval for two different reasons. Katie hates Tom Sandoval because Tom Sandoval has basically always been the other person in her relationship with Tom Schwartz. Tom Schwartz has always, I'm not saying sexual, but Tom Schwartz has always been in a relationship that has been more important and has always taken a priority to his relationship with Katie. And that is why Katie hates Tom Sandoval. I don't even really think it has anything to do with him cheating on Ariana. And of course, Ariana, in my opinion, she hates Tom Sandoval because I think Ariana knew that their relationship had a lot of problems and it wasn't what they pretended it was. But I think Ariana thought, as long as I pretend with him, as long as I lie with him, as long as I play the role he wants me to play, he will never leave me. And I think the fact that he was cheating on her, embarrassed her, you know, said he wanted to leave her, I think a lot of all of that was him wanting to leave her, but because Tom Sandoval is Tom Sandoval, he wanted to malign her first because they both were dirty as hell. They both were lying about their relationship. They both were fronting. They both weren't the nicest of people ever. You know what I mean? Sure, Tom does things for people, but whatever. You know what I'm saying? They both were lying. So for him to be like, yeah, we were lying about our relationship and that's not fair. Tom, the only reason why you wanted to come clean about your relationship was because you were ready to leave her, not because you actually wanted to be truthful about your life. If you did not actually want to leave Ariana, you would have kept lying right along with her. So they're both wrong because Ariana, you were lying too. You guys weren't having sex, you weren't getting along. And again, none of that justifies what he did. This is a multifaceted world where multiple things can all be true. It can be true that Ariana was fronting about her relationship. It can be true that Tom was fronting about his relationship. And it still can be true that what he did to her was dead ass wrong. All of those things are true. Doesn't make her less of a victim, but it also doesn't make her this perfect godlike queen person that everybody needs to now bow down to either. And even if she had a perfect relationship and this happened to her, that still does not give her the right to dictate the lives and livelihood of other people. Because at the end of the day, Sheena and Lala and probably Tom Sandoval were all taking their direction from production and the executives, which is very clear. That's why they broke that fourth wall and they were talking to Jeremiah, the producer, because the producers wanted that scene between Ariana and Tom Sandoval. They wanted them to have an on screen, one on one conversation. And the fact is, Ariana, you need to do your job. You need to show up and do your job. Lala was 100% spot on when she said, you have coasted through all of these seasons. You've collected your main character check without bringing main character energy. And we ask you to do one thing, which literally is your job, and you walk out and refuse to. And now everybody's put on pause. I would be pissed too. I would be pissed too, because if I work at Taco Bell and I'm stuffing tacos, and the guy who stuffs tacos with me happens to be my long-term boyfriend, and he ends up, smashing and having sex with the cashier, who is one of my really good friends. When my manager says, Candy, you need to go stuff those tacos with your ex-boyfriend, if I say to my manager, no, I don't want to stuff tacos with him because he cheated on me, you think I'm still going to have a job at Taco Bell? No, they're going to be like, well, if you don't want to stuff tacos because that's what we pay you to do, then you can go kick rocks. So why does Ariana think that when she shows up for a job, which is actually reality television, so she actually has more of an obligation to show her life than I would if I'm working at Taco Bell? Why does she think she has the right to tell her bosses no? Where they do that at? Anybody else in this world who shows up at their job and their boss says, go make copies next to the copier. I don't want to. The guy next to me in the cubicle, he cheated on me. Oh, well, not our problem. Go make those copies. She doesn't get to dictate how what production asks of her. And then she doesn't get to villainize her cast members because they are trying to continue to do their job. Because the proof is in the pudding. The show is on pause because this season was whack as hell. The proof is in the pudding. The entire season, Sheena and Lala were trying to keep the show going. You think Lala actually wants to hang out with Joe? Does that make any sense to you? No, she doesn't. But production said, go have coffee with Joe. We need new people on the show. We need new storylines. Let's get this storyline with Joe and Shorts going. Let's blah, 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 blah. But they are acting like Katie and Ariana are acting like they don't know that they're on a produced reality television show. Like, you're on a produced reality television show, right? Like, you know that, right? So in order for that to work, they need new characters. They need new storylines. They need you to show up and do your job. Now, I also know everybody is all up in arms about Tom Sandoval at the very end being like, when the producer Jeremy goes, well, that's the end. And Tom goes, oh, I love it because it makes me look good. Everyone's like, oh, see, he's lying. No, no, Tom is honestly, to be honest with you, I agree with Tom Sandoval on that one because he's like, listen, I have been villainized. I've been, a worm with a mustache. I've been told I've been called every name in the book. I'm the villain. I'm all this. I'm that. I've been called, I love Tay Tay. Tay Tay called him trash. Like everybody's going at him and he's still showing up. He's still doing his job. And he's like, and see, she's not. And he's like, this is what I'm talking about. So I don't blame Tom for saying that. I don't think that's some horrible thing where it's like, he's so horrible. How dare he say that? He's basically like, see, look, I told you, and look what happened. And he's like, you know what? I do love it. It makes me look better because at least I'm showing up and I'm doing my job. And the fact that Ariana and her weird friends were like, let's go to Applebee's. Applebee's. Does she have a commercial with Applebee's? I wonder if Bravo, I mean, unless Bravo's getting some Applebee's, checks or whatever, how happy are they that she, like, that to me is so rude and egotistical. You keep plugging your commercial and collab you have with Applebee's at the finale, but you're not going to do the job that you are literally there being paid to do, which is to have a conversation with not only your co-star, but to be honest, it's your co-worker. If I am at a job and my boss says you need to have a meeting with this person, and I get up and I walk out and I refuse to have a meeting with them, do I expect to have my job the next day? Probably not. Because at the end of the day, they are at a job. They are 1099 independent contract workers. They are showing up. She is there because she's going to get a check. She's not there for her health. She's not there for free. She's not doing Bravo a favor by showing up. She's showing up because in 30 days, she's going to get a check. Or the next 2 weeks, she's going to get a check because she showed up. Do you see what I'm saying? I actually really like, and I can't believe I'm saying this, Brock grew on me this season. He really did. Do I still think he is lying and is being really shady about his child support and whether or not he's showing up for his other kids he has in Australia or New Zealand, wherever he's from? Yeah, I still think that he's trying to getting out of paying. Yeah, I do think he's still dodging. I still think that's shady as hell. But Brock overall has grown on me this season. I do think that he has Sheena's back and he was super supportive of her. I do think that he's trying and everything. And he was kind of the voice of reason, other than when he was, going off on Sheena for no reason and fighting about the nanny and stuff like that. Yes, that was in there. But overall, Brock kind of grew on me this season. I saw a different side to him. He definitely grew on me. Do I think him and Sheena maybe need to go to couples therapy and work through some stuff? Sure. But a lot of couples do. But overall, he did grow on me. Tom Schwartz, I'm not going to spend too much time on Tom Schwartz because to me, he's always just kind of there. He's like tofu, like he's like a wet blanket, like he's just sort of there. Tom Schwartz is always in service of someone or something else. Like, what does Tom himself have going on? He's either Tom Sandoval's sidekick or he's like, Katie's whatever. But like Tom Schwartz as an individual, I'm not really sure what he brings to the table. But I will say this, when you're, telling stories and you're creating characters or personas or an ensemble cast, you still need characters like a Tom Schwartz because everybody can't be that main person. You need that person. You need that, every Sherlock needs a Watson, basically. So Tom Schwartz plays his Watson role very well. Him and Joe, it's weird. He basically just used her for sex. She was clearly in love with him. He clearly was just horny and she was available. And yeah, I will tell you, you know what? Where Lala pissed me off was here. When Joe went over to talk to Katie and Tom Schwartz escorted her over, Lala piped down. We didn't need Lala to interject anything in the conversation between Joe and Katie. It wasn't your fight. It wasn't your rodeo. So pipe down with that one, Lala, because she kept having Joe's back. Oh, don't say that, Katie. Well, no, I don't think that's true, Katie. Shut up, Lala. You don't know. And if I'm Katie, I'm gonna have the smoke for Joe every time I see her. At least they're interacting. At least it's drama. At least it's real. You don't get to police Katie's feelings, Lala. You don't. You know, you don't let people police your feelings. I'm sure if a chick who you thought you were acquainted with, in the same circle with at least, had texted you and been like, oh, I'm so sorry you and Randall broke up. You know, I'm here for you. And then a month later, she's living and having sex with Randall. I'm pretty sure you wouldn't have that. I'm pretty sure you would have a very different type of energy towards her than you're having towards Joe when it comes to that conversation. Lala, pipe down. Katie can feel any way she wants to. She was still talking to her. She was still engaging. She was still doing her thing. I'm pretty sure if somebody did that to you about Randall, was in your home that you had to flee from, unfortunately, acted like she was your friend, and then was having sex with him and living with him a month later while you're still trying to untangle your life, I wonder how you would treat that person, Lala. So let Katie be. Okay? Let Katie be. Let Katie live. Katie is allowed to have feelings. Whether you like them or not, she's allowed to. So pipe down on that one, Lauren. Okay, Lauren from Utah, pipe down. James and Allie, I've said this a couple of times. I think that James doesn't need the show. I think James should just go and be a DJ, do his TikTok, and go have fun and live his life, James. I'm not really sure what the show is doing. Allie, to me, saying she doesn't want kids. He's crying. You're so cute. I don't know what witchy poo spell she has on him, but Allie just doesn't do it for me on any level. Like any level. She's like a number 2 pencil to me. Like she's just like standard, just there. Like she doesn't give anything. Every time she asks a question, I'm like, it's like she's reading off of the card that the producer gave her to ask. They keep trying to make Allie happen, and it's just not happening. When she carries a bone, she always changes the words and inserts herself or throws somebody under the bus when it's actually coming from her. But because it's Allie, nobody ever blames her. Allie has lied, gotten things wrong, manipulated situations, made stuff up for the last 2 seasons she's been on the show, and nobody says anything to her about it. You know, she told Katie Lala called her miserable. When Lala said Katie seems unhappy to me, those are 2 very different connotations. If my friend is saying, I'm worried about Candy, she seems really unhappy, she seems like something's going on with her, that's one thing. If somebody says, my friend goes, you know, Candy is miserable, that's very different. Those are 2 very different things. Lala said she was concerned about Katie because Katie seemed unhappy. Allie brought it back like Lala was saying, oh, Katie is like some miserable chick and da-da-da-da-da-da-da, when that's not actually the energy or even the word that Lala said, but nobody checked Allie. They just blamed Lala like it was the truth, even when the producers rolled the footage that it was a complete lie. And when you bring a bone to somebody, your words matter, because calling me unhappy versus calling me miserable are 2 very different connotations. I would receive it very differently. If my friend said, Candy, I think you're unhappy, I'd be like, okay, you know what? I am. Let's talk about it. But if someone's like, Candy, you're miserable, I'm like, well, you need to check yourself. You're miserable. That's a totally different conversation. That is a totally different conversation. So yeah, I can't with her. Allie is weird to me. She's doing videos now and the whole witchy poo birth charts, astrology readings. Do you, boo-boo, just not for me, not for me. And I wonder how long Allie and James will stay together now that the show is on pause. I think that will be very telling and very, very interesting. Now, let's talk about Tom Sandoval in general and overall. Now, what I think Tom did to Ariana was wrong. There's no way to sugarcoat it. There's no way to defend it. Cheating for 7+ months in the home with a girl that is friends with Ariana, with Rachel, with James's ex-fiance, the gaslighting, the lying, the cheating, all of that, the weird stuff, Coachella, blah, blah, blah. All of that was horrible and it was wrong. 1000%. It is what it is. But there comes a point in time where people have to move forward in life and friendships and dynamics and work environments and work situations. Because remember, this is still their job. This is still a workplace. It might not seem like it because they're going at it in their houses and at pool parties and at the club and this, that, and the third. But this is their workplace. They're all getting paid for this. Before friends, they are coworkers, employees. Okay? Now, I feel that Tom is genuine with his apologies? I actually do. I think he's gotten there. I think that Tom had to unpack and work through a lot of his own. Again, I'm not a doctor. So, and we always use this term narcissist all over the place. I'll just say narcissistic tendencies, traits, spectrum, I don't know, ego, delusion, whatever you want to call it. He has always had those sort of issues, being jealous of women, of strong, beautiful women, speaking to women and yelling at them, putting them down, having to always be the center of attention, gaslighting people to make himself the victim and to make them the bad guy, always going above and beyond to be that guy, all of that stuff. I think he's had to work through a lot of stuff. And that stuff did not start with Ariana. That has been who he is, whether through trauma, whether through he was born that way, whether through conditioning, whatever the case may be, he has displayed those tendencies. And I think that if he's doing the work, whether it's through, traditional therapy or, I don't know, talking to someone or a life coach or whatever it is, I think he has to unpack a lot of things that made him that type of person he was, because Tom has always been like that. So it's a lot to expect a person who has become a person who gaslights and needs the attention and does everything he does and is a cheater, is a liar, and all of those things, to all of a sudden just have a come to Jesus moment because he got caught cheating on one of the girlfriends that he's cheated on before. So I think Tom's, quote, healing journey or accountability journey, whatever you want to call it, is much deeper and much longer than just the Ariana situation. And to be honest with you, I believe Tom when he said that he has tried to have conversations with Ariana outside of filming, but she has not been open to it. Because she said on the reunion last year, this is the last time you'll ever talk to me. He can't talk to me. I don't want to talk to him. They were talking through Anne. But we saw that on the show, he invited her to his birthday party. Like, I think it's more of she did not want to give him an inch with anything. And I'm not team Tom Sandoval. And I'm not against Ariana. No. Because at this point, there's no teams. Like, we're beyond team this, team that. We're beyond that, right? We're talking about the dynamics in this. I agree with what Lala said, because I'm not saying that Ariana is a bad person. Because again, her personality and her tendencies as well to be cold, to be standoffish, to be dismissive, to be the type of person who would be attractive and attracted to a person like Tom Sandoval, to lie for him, to cover for him. That type of personality also did not start with Tom. That could be her own trauma or conditioning or life. So I do think that we do a lot of things not to truly grieve situations. And sometimes it feels easier in the moment to stay angry than it does to fall into the grieving process. Because once you're through the grieving process, hindsight looking back, you can be like, oh, thank God I went through all the grieving processes and I worked through it and I got through everything and I now have some level of healing and acceptance. But when you're in it, you will fight everything in order not to grieve, not to grieve the loss of who you thought you were going to be, who you thought he was, the relationship, your future, what you thought it would look like. Whether or not she's with Daniel now doesn't matter. You can still be heartbroken and you can still be grieving the loss of what you thought your life would look like, who you thought you were going to be, who you thought you were with. That's a lot. And a lot of people stay stuck in that anger, stuck in that, no way, you can't talk to me, and all this stuff. I'm not saying she has to talk to him. I'm not saying she should talk to him. What I'm talking about is the energy and the intentionality behind why she's choosing not to talk to him. To me, it seems more from anger, which, to be honest with you, is still 100% understandable. However, in the real world that we all live in, because this is where it comes into play with Vanderpump Rules. We may be angry. We may be heartbroken. We may be narcissist. We may be grieving. We may be doing all of that. But when we show up to our jobs, we still have to do our job. So when Ariana shows up to her job and her producers say, we need you to have a conversation with Tom, she still needs to do her job. Doesn't mean she has to forgive him in that conversation. Doesn't mean she even has to talk back to him in that situation. But she has to show up and do her job. Because I could be heartbroken, I could be grieving, I could be angry as hell. But if I show up at my 9-to-5 job and my boss says you have to take a meeting with this person and talk to this person, I have to do it. Yes, we can still have, and the thing is, to be honest with you, they're not putting her in this life or death situation. Obviously, if your boss tells you to do something and it's a true threat to your life or sexual or something like that, then yeah, of course you get the hell out of there. Duh. I'm not talking about that stuff. I'm not talking about like abusive things or anything like that. Obviously, I'm not talking about that. If anybody puts you in a dangerous situation, mentally, sexually, physically, you get out there. I don't care who it is. Of course. That's not what I'm talking about. That's not what I'm talking about. Your boss says go into a meeting that might be uncomfortable. You got to show up. And I think that's really what the crux is that's going on here. And that's another reason why Lala's like, I don't know why she thinks she's God, that she doesn't have to show up and do her job. And the producers were clearly pissed because it was a scene that they wanted. And everybody has had to go through all that stuff. They've had to talk about losses and things that have been embarrassing and cheating and all of that stuff on the show. That's literally their job. C. Hovis says, stop victim blaming. Okay, I'm going to teach you something right now, C. Hovis. Victim blaming is when you blame the victim for what happened to them. That is the definition of what victim blaming is. If I said Ariana deserved to be cheated on, it's her fault she was cheated on. She put herself in this situation to be cheated on. That is victim blaming. Holding a person accountable for their actions is not victim blaming. Just to be 100% clear on that. I'm not victim blaming anybody. I never once said Ariana deserved what happened to her. In fact, I said the opposite. I said, even though Ariana was covering in her relationship, she knew what the deal was between her and Tom. She knew she was in a bad relationship, but she still loved him and she still wanted the partnership. She wanted the brand deal. She wanted to be on the show. She wanted to be in the relationship and she covered for him. I still said what he did to her was wrong. And I still said that she has every right to be hurt and to be angry. So I'm not victim blaming anybody, to be perfectly clear. So before you accuse me of victim blaming somebody, please be very clear on what the definition of victim blaming is. I never once said she deserved what happened to her because she didn't. But I can say and use my opinion and observations for how she has acted after it has happened to other people and within the situation. That is not victim blaming, okay? Now, to be clear, Ariana did not deserve what happened to her. And she has the right to feel how she feels, to be angry, to be pissed off, to be heartbroken, all of that. I understand that. I get that. What human being wouldn't? But what we're talking about is the fact that now, because she has refused to do what not even Lala, not what Sheena, but what her bosses wanted for the sake of the show, the entire show is now on pause. And they pretty much did a goodbye montage at the end of the season. That's what we're talking about. Okay? Now, Ariana and Daniel. I mean, I feel my stance on him has always been he seems to me to be a little bit of an opportunist. Maybe he is really into her, maybe he isn't. I didn't feel like they had a lot of chemistry, if that makes sense. I didn't really see the chemistry there. Everyone's like, Daniel's so hot. He's not my personal type. Doesn't mean he's not hot because I guess he is hot. People say he's hot. He's not hot to me, but that's okay. I'm not hot to a lot of people either. So that's fine. I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. And I'm not talking about the timeline. I don't care that she met him 8 or 10 days after the whole Sandoval broke. I don't care. Do you, girl? Knock yourself out. Do you? To me, it's more, I don't really feel the chemistry between the two of them. I don't know. I just didn't see it. I just didn't feel it. It just seemed weird to me. I don't know. I could be wrong on that. But something just seems a little, I don't know, it just seems a little weird to me with that. I agree with Lala. I don't think Lala needed to interrogate him. Like, again, Lala piped down like a scotch because we all could feel something was a bit off. I don't know what it is, but something doesn't seem 100% with them. I guess that's everybody. So I guess overall how I feel about the season is I do think it was the right choice to put the show on pause because nothing was happening. No needle was moving forward. No storylines really landed. I'm happy for Lala with her new baby. Nothing but sending health and happiness to her and the baby. But I'm not that invested in that storyline. I'm happy Sheena is good as golding it and she has Brock and she's going on tour. I'm not really that invested in that anymore. Ariana, I don't know why she kept saying Applebee's, Applebee's, Applebee's. I felt like I was on a drinking game. Every time Ariana said Applebee's, take a shot. I'm not invested in anything Ariana does. I'm sorry. It's just, she's never been my cup of tea. Schwartz, clearly not invested in anything he's doing. Katie, I wish Katie love. I wish Katie healing. I want Katie to go to a really good therapist and really just work out everything she needs to work out and get some joy and love and some true stability within herself. Because like Katie or not like Katie, unfortunately, Katie has really been the most trashed person on this show. I'm not calling her trash. I'm saying she was trashed. like, oh, Tequila Katie and Katie's mean and blah, blah, blah. And, like her or not, she went through a lot. Nobody ever cared when Tom Schwartz cheated on her. Even when they were married, nobody cared. And the reason why she was so Tequila Katie, the reason why she was so prickly was because the person that she was with, and again, she probably should have left him years and years and years ago. But with that being said, Tom Schwartz always clowned her, always disrespected her, always gaslit her, always maligned her. If the person you're with is talking crap about you to everybody, has no respect for you, continuously cheats on you before you got married, while you were married, and even during your separation. Literally, when Raquel and Tom Schwartz were the ones hooking up, people cheered. At Sheena and Brock's Mexico wedding, they were cheering. Imagine that when it's your husband, because they were still married at that time, separated but married. Imagine that when your husband, who you are separated from, is hooking up with a chick in your friendship group and everybody is laughing and cheering them on. What? Katie, I don't know how Katie is right. I don't know. I don't know how Katie's doing it. And then on the flip side, when that same girl is now hooking up with Ariana's boyfriend, the entire world shuts down. But when she was hooking up with your husband, everybody was cheering. But when it was happening to Ariana, the whole world lost their damn minds. Justice for Katie. If I was treated the way they treated Katie this entire series, I'd probably be tequila candy too. I would probably be very angry and very bitter and very pissed off with a chip on my shoulder, the same way Katie has been. Because they have always dogged the hell out of Katie. And I feel bad for her. And I think Katie has always deserved better. I do think she should have left Schwartz a very long time ago. I don't think she ever should have married him. But it is what it is. Yikes. Yikes, yikes, yikes. But as always, I want to know what you guys think. Put it down below. What do you think about the show being put on pause? What do you think about, Lala breaking the fourth wall and being like, Ariana, you basically ruined the bag for all of us. You're booked and busy, but we're out here still trying to make sure we have a platform for our stuff. What do you guys think? What do you think about Tom Sandoval? Did he get the redemption arc he wanted? What do you think about Sheena? What do you think about Lala? And what do you think about this being the end of Pump Rules as we know it? And I'm going to tell you what I think, and I have a couple of more stories, guys, so stick around. And I'm going to tell you what I think the future of Pump Rules will be in those stories. But before I do that, go ahead and like, subscribe, and share. So with that, let's move on to, let's do, what story do we want to do? Do we want to do reunion or do we want to do Stassi? You know what? Let's do the reunion.